Well, hey, this is Dr. Scott Langford. I'm a professor of English at Foothill College, and I'm also the director of communications for the Stanford Gen Global Educators Network YouTube channel. And I am thrilled to be here today with a panel of 4 different women, all of whom are featured in this new best-selling International Women of Color Who Boss Up book. And I'll be speaking to each one of them in turn about how they got involved with the book, what does it mean to boss up, and how is this book important to community college educators and community college students in particular. And one of the 4 is a former Foothill College community college student. I guess I'll have to ask the other 3 if they ever took any classes at community colleges. I didn't even do that ahead. And full disclosure, I have not met 3 of these 4 women before. So I'm asking very basic and maybe sometimes slightly off target questions so that I can figure out who they are too. So with me today, I'll just quickly give you the names and then we'll speak to each of them individually. Sheena Yap-Chan, Sneha Gandhi White, Carmel Jean-Francois, and Dr. Tanya Blackman. Welcome to the Stanford Gen channel. Ms. Sneha Gandhi White is the owner of EmpowerYou, and she is, as Sheena was explaining, she was one of the people who helped to inspire the Women of Color book for Women Who Boss Up in the series. She was, the editor is saying that she was so excited and gung-ho that she introduced me to some other people. The next thing I knew, I had another book that I didn't even think I was gonna do. I wasn't even thinking about it, right? It was Asian Women Who Boss Up, which was our most recent book, and now we have International Women Who Boss Up. And so Sneha, let me just also add, was an unforgettable student that I got to know very well at Foothill College. I think we shared like maybe 4 or 5 classes, I lost count. She became an outstanding tutor at Foothill College. She went on to become a public school inner city urban middle school teacher in downtown San Jose. Did brilliantly there at the same time that she was finishing a master's degree in education, looking at teamwork among educators, which was fascinating. I was honored to be on her committee for that master's degree. And now she's out in the world as a success coach. And I think I'm gonna have to ask her what might come next, because I think in the midst of pandemic, there's been quite a bit of job shifting too. So Sneha, welcome back in your case to the Stanford Gen Global Educators Network.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Scott, for having all of us. It's truly a pleasure. Thank you.
Okay. Now, we heard a little bit about the story of you having something to do with the next series of books in which you yourself are featured, which is great, and meeting Sheena and Carmel and Dr. Tanya along the way. But what could you add about the genesis of this book in your own life? Which I don't always know, right? Like you just kind of sent me like, look, Dr. Scott, I'm featured in this book. And I was like, wow, right? And then I got my hands on it and read some of it, and I was really, really wowed, including the eloquence of these interviews that are featured with each of you. So that's kind of the part I know, but what else do I not know that I need to know, and especially that maybe other community college educators need to know?
I think they need to know that community college is very much necessary. Having gone through it myself, it was where I found my passion. It's where I discovered that I wanted to empower others. I worked in the transfer center and I helped students discover their own dreams while discovering my own. And they saw me as a person of authority because I spent the time, did the research, and what I was saying was something that I was going through myself. So that's something that I always tell the people that I work with and interact with, is that I will never say anything that I have not gone through myself. So yes, I am a firm believer of community college. I believe with the proper ed plan and support system, you can do anything. And even in life, you need an ed plan. You need to have a game plan. What's going to happen next? So yes, you did. Thank you for the intro. Genesis of the book. I would have to say what's going on with me now is that I'm partnering I'm going to be the regional supervisor coaching teachers, upcoming teachers, as they graduate from college and support them during their academic service year. In addition, I'm collaborating with another company and I'll be mentoring young children as well. And one thing that people ask me countless times is why both demographics? Why women? Why children? Why both? Why not one or the other? And I will confidently say it's because kids become adults. And if you plant the seed in them to be confident and to advocate for themselves and learn how to know their truth and learn how to be their inner superhero at a very young age, they will be formidable forces of nature. And these forces of nature are going to lead us into the future one day. So if we don't plant seeds and invest in them when they're young, how can we expect to just piece those little broken pieces together when they're adults, when we could have been doing it every step of the way? So I absolutely believe that both kids and women, they need our support. And that's exactly why I do what I do. And I will always call myself an educator because I've had a number of roles on the mentorship side, on the admin side, on the classroom teacher side. And I understand the frustration on all fronts. But I truly believe, and I will not say that I believe in the education system as it stands, but I believe in education. I believe in educating others to better themselves and to better the education system, because I do have a little bit of hope that it can get better for someone one day. So.
There. Well, with that in mind, and I did this in my last interview with you, but I just find this such an astounding paragraph, and I think it's also a great way to share something from the book. So I'm actually going to see if I can screen share here for a minute on my Kindle screen. Let me see if I can do that right, and if I can't, I'll do it another way. There it goes. So here's a paragraph that I want to read to you that just complete, like someone who's known Sneha for, I don't know, 15 years, like how long? I'm losing count. But anyway, and watched you go, got you go from transfer to UC level to master's level. So I've been along for the ride here. But this paragraph still, every time I read it, it astounds me, Sneha. So I'm just going to take a moment to read it. And then I'd like you to comment on it a little more, right? In order for someone, so I'm going to start right here, if you can see it on the screen. In order for someone to pursue their true path, they have to shut the door on all that white noise in life. White noise can be your family, society, or even your job, collectively sending you subtle messages about who you are meant to be. Women for centuries have allowed themselves to be talked out of their dreams or goals when we share them with the world. In reality, many of us have had this hidden spark inside of us, this secret dream life we wanted to pursue. And yet most of us have shared this dream life with someone who talked us out of it. And just like that, the dream disappears and transforms into something more, quote unquote, practical. Sneha, thank you for those words and maybe some afterthoughts now that I've given you that prompt from your own work there.
Absolutely. Afterthoughts is absolutely, I still stand by those words. White noise is something that distracts all of us. And as Sheena pointed out previously, if a man has the desire to go for something, they don't second guess themselves. Even if they know they don't have all the tools they need to succeed, they just do it. But we as women have been conditioned to have it all planned out, or we don't go for it at all. It's allowing our fear to envelope us, and then we just go, maybe not, maybe it's not worth it, and then it never happens. So absolutely, I think white noise is something that has placed me in a place of paralysis, and I know that I'm not the only woman to experience this for many years. And I tell many people that COVID is where I was able to go into my cocoon and then come back out even stronger. And then now I'm a formidable force, because for the first time in my life, I am making figures that I never thought I could see. And it's really not about the money. It's about the impact that I'm making. I'm making it on a greater scale. And it's because I followed my passion. I followed my path. And I still have people that give me little tidbits of helpful advice of you should do this, you should focus on this, you should focus on that. Why are you doing this with your business? Why are you doing that? Why don't you want a regular thing? I have never been a regular girl. I am just realizing it now that I don't care to be one. I have always gone against the grain of what I was supposed to do, and I quite enjoy it. So absolutely, I encourage all the women out there, if you don't put yourself into a box. And if you're not able to be placed into a box, own that. Take your magic, take your inner superhero, whatever your gift is, as long as you can do it by sharing it with the world in a beautiful manner, go for it. And you know what? It's not about the money, but if you stay true to yourself, someone along the way will see you and see your light for who you are, and they will want to join you on your journey, and they will stick with you. So remember that the white noise from your family, the people who have known you, they might just be scared of watching you level up and leaving them behind. But you know what? It's okay. It's okay to leave them behind if it can leave room for those that will truly lift you up on the rest of your journey, because the journey's not over and it's still going.
So well said. And this is going to be my third question, I guess, Sneha, which
Sure,
is
sure.
one of the reasons I like that quote or love that quote is it's the double pun. It's the double consciousness. Like there's white noise in the sense of background noise and static and anything that gets in your way. And then also, I mean, this book is very much about international women of color who boss up, right? So it's not just a gender element, right? There's also race, ethnicity, language element, cultural elements that if you let them, people will try to hold you back. And I think, I have to be the white guy to own this, but yeah, the white noise can be really white guy noise. And I wanted you to speak to that as well directly. I'm sort of a safe person to ask you that question in a way,
Right.
because it is something that I am very aware as a teacher that I have my, I want to be the best ally ever. But when I walk in a room, I have to earn it. And I have to earn it every day and every minute. And I have to swim upstream against a culture that seems even more explicitly white supremacist to us all, especially to like clueless white people like me. Like this last couple of years, wow, what an education. For those of us who needed a re-education, that really happened. So what about that element? What about the element of culture and race and language as well as gender?
Absolutely. I think that's a trifecta. And I guess what I could say is that growing up in Cupertino, which is like, Apple is there, and it's an amazing city. But when I was going to school, my classmates were all primarily, for lack of a better term, Caucasian or white, as you might say. And I stood out, and I didn't feel like I had a support system. I felt like on cultural days, I would wear my clothes and people would go, okay, that's pretty, or what is that, or where are you from, or this or that. And I remember being teased for, bring my food to school. So I would tell my mom, I want American food when I go to school. I don't want to feel like I'm different, because I was teased for everything. And um, it caused me to be very withdrawn and to dive into my books, my storybooks, or my friends, because I would gravitate towards books where the girls were the superheroes, in many facets, either detective novels or anything, where they were just these badass women who would, save the day because they were intellectual and they were supported. And yes, it was fiction or nonfiction, but I was able to identify with those women, because growing up, I didn't have a lot of role models. But I did have my third grade teacher, who was an Indian woman who came to this country, and she went through hell and back. She grew up in Africa. Her first language was Swahili, and then her parents took her to India, and then she had to learn Hindi, and then she came to the US. And then she ended up having albino twins, and that was a whole other thing. And she was like, oh my gosh, if I can do it, anyone can, you can do it too. And and then my first grade teacher, beautiful African American woman, and she was my first grade, everything. She was kind and patient, but she held her ground, and she showed me that you can make anything happen. And I think that's the biggest thing about representation, is that for me growing up, because I didn't have the Indian teachers, a number of them, I didn't have the people of color showing me that I could do it. I knew that it was something that I was going to do. It was something that I had to do. So now I see it as my mission to empower as many women as possible. And for myself, I had a conversation earlier today about it being immigrant families, and yes, that's a part of it. But my partner, my husband, he's African American, and so for me, whenever I lead women, I see it as those, our Black girls too. I'm like, that could be my daughter one day. And I don't want her to feel like she has to be different or she has to change herself just to fit in. So even in my own family, they know that if I show up to an event or anything, I'm going to show up confidently. I wear my Indian clothes if I want to, because I want to. And I initially, in the first date, with my husband, I told him, don't call my clothes garb, because I grew up when we were going to a party, it was, are you going to wear Western? Are you going to wear our clothes? That was the difference.
Mhm.
So absolutely. I want girls to see me and think I can identify with her, whether it's the way that I look, whether it's based on my experiences, whatever it is, because I want women to know that they can do it at any age, at any level. And all they have to do is believe in themselves and find one or two people who will stick by them. You will be just fine. And Scott, you've been an incredible ally for majority of my life. And and these ladies here as well. It's been such a pleasure to know them and all the work that we have done together and that we will continue to do together. And it's because the work that we have to do has to get done. It is not over today, and it will not be. And we just have to keep putting ourselves out there, because if we don't, then the white man wins, and for lack of a better phrase, and we can't let them win, because the world deserves to change and it needs to happen now.
Yeah, as I like to remind you, my favorite bumper sticker from back in the day was well-behaved women rarely make history. So, I've been quoting that one to Sneha for like 15 years, and she's very much lived up to it. You definitely own that bumper sticker, Sneha. Do you have some closing thoughts or responses to Carmel and Dr. Tanya in terms of what they've said so far?
I honestly, I love each of these ladies so, so, so much. We are actually, three of us are working on some other things.
Oh, I want to hear about this. I don't know if you can let the cat out of the bag, but you have kitties too. So like you have real cats to let out of real bags, but whatever.
I do. They're actually around here. But speaking of these ladies, they're both such phenomenal women, and they are the reason why I do the work that I do, because I get to meet them every single day, and they are why I am excited to work every day. Because even if it's just to have a conversation with them, even if it's just to showcase their bossing up moments and why they are incredible, this is why we need each other. And this is why I'm going to circle back to shutting down that white noise and all those naysayers and learning how to prioritize yourself. Because we as women, especially these two women here, in addition to myself, we have decided, you know what, screw the world. Screw what we should have done. Screw what is limited to, one or two things. All three of us do more than one thing. And guess what? That's okay. That is okay. And it is better than okay, because we are happy. We are enjoying ourselves. So we want to encourage other women like ourselves, or who remind us of ourselves, even in a past life, to say, hey, come on up here. Let's do this together. Because the more of us that others see, we will become a force of nature. And honestly, that's why I tell everyone, learn how to prioritize yourself. Learn how to be selfish, because we as women are conditioned to be selfless servers of society. And guess what? Can't serving mean that you serve yourself first and make sure that you have everything that you need before you give back to the world? We need to invert that. We need to bring it back to ourselves. Educate yourself so that you can educate the world, because if you do not pour into your own cup first, how can you be expected to pour into others? You will be depleted within no time. It'll happen, guaranteed, I promise you. Learn how to prioritize yourselves, just like these women have done, because, I mean, look at them. We have an Army vet, a doctor, and so many other things. The list goes on and on. We have a boss lady, owns her own construction company and her CFIT company, and countless other things. And I love and adore each of them, because they are exactly the kind of women that I would want my daughter to know about. And I would be like, hey, look at Carmel, look at Tanya. They can do it. So don't tell me that life is hard. Yeah, it's hard, but guess what? When you make it, you make it. And that's exactly what we need to start showing women, that just because it's hard does not mean that it cannot be done. In fact, Glennon Doyle, she happens to be a white author, but she wrote something from an amazing book. And she said in that book, women can do hard things. We can do hard things. Just because it's hard does not mean that we cannot try and we cannot make it happen.